Alright, in this video we're converting a pool from copper to PVC. So I want to show you what we do typically out here. We did a leak detection on this pool. It was leaking really bad in the skimmer. Mind you, this skimmer is on a raised wall, so it's a real difficult one. It's an expensive one. We got $3,200 to do this skimmer because of all the work that went into it. Watch the video. We cap off the main drain, install an equalizer line. We're running new returns, and now we have no copper left in this pool. Watch how we did it. So here's the pool. Again, it dropped down lower than the skimmer. It was actually in the skimmer line, and the main drain runs to the skimmer. So we're going to show you what we did to convert this pool. First thing we're going to do is cut out this skimmer. Remember, this skimmer is on a raised wall. So again, it's going to be really deep, it's going to be really thick, and watch how far down we're going to have to wind up going to get to it. We're going to wind up dumping this whole pool. You'll see ahead. Here's where we drain it. Remember, when draining pools, I know I'm getting a little off topic here, but when draining pools, we always want to know where that water is going. This has cost me a lot of money over the 30 years I'm doing this, damage and where that water goes. So we always want to make sure that it literally gets right down to a sewer or to where it needs to go. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to rinse the pool down. I don't like working in a mess. I don't like leaving footprints. So I always like to work in a nice clean pool. You'll see those old copper return lines. Getting back to the skimmer now, we're going to still keep ripping it up. We're cutting the copper line right here, and we're just going to abandon it. We're not using that anymore because we're running all new lines, including a suction line, and we're going to get rid of the main drain. We'll show you that. So here's the old skimmer. You'll see that there's still some concrete parts of it going down in. We got to break that out and get that all removed. Let's jump over to where we're running an equalizer line. We're going to run that right through, and then we're going to start setting up our elevation so that we could actually plumb this skimmer. We do all our dry fitting first before we do our gluing. We're going to set everything down, make sure that we get everything to proper height before we actually do go and glue. So again, we like to use blue glue for anything underground. It's something I feel comfortable using. So we're going to rough plumb our suction, and we're going to rough plumb our equalizer line right now. We're going to set it way down. Remember, this is a very high raised wall. Now we're going to glue our fittings, and we're going to take our measurements, and we're going to stub ourselves up for our suction line, and we already have our equalizer line plumbed. Next thing we're going to do is, now that we have our proper elevation, we're going to pack around our skimmer. We like to always pack it with a hydraulic cement before we pour that thing solid. It gives us a nice sealed seam. We do it from both the inside and from the face of the actual pool. Now what we're going to do is start cutting our trench all the way over to the equipment where we're going to wind up running our suction line. It's going to be 2-inch. We're trying to get this deck up in sections. We ran into a footer over here, so we actually had to cut a little bit wider. So now we're digging our trench for our return lines. So our return lines, we're going to get in one shot all the way under the deck, and then we're going to wind up plumbing them and running them all the way over to the actual equipment. Here we're actually core drilling through the wall of the pool to run our pipes. What I like to do after I core drill before I run my big pipe through the wall is I like to take a 1-inch galvanized pipe with a handle on it so that I could beat it through the wall, so I might be able to get underneath this deck without having to cut. So now that we have our rough plumbing done, our wall lines are run through, our pipes are laid in the trench, our skimmer is set, we're going to backfill all our trenches, we're going to pour all our concrete around our skimmer. Remember, we're going to entomb it in a cage, and then we're going to wind up pouring our deck where we had to cut to run that line. So as you know, we covered up the main drain. The main drain was copper running to the skimmer, but we did install an equalizer line. I always believe that a skimmer needs 2 sources of suction. It's going to get that from the EQ, and it's going to get it from the main drain. There's no direct suction to the EQ, and that's how we got it done. So this is how we thoroughly got rid of all the copper out of this pool. Again, it wasn't all leaking. The skimmer line was leaking and the skimmer was leaking, but this is an old pool. They're going to remodel it ahead down the road, not right away. That's why we core drilled, and we're putting new fitting caps nice and flush. And that's how we got it done. For more information, visit LeakTronics.com or check out our YouTube channel.